This is the thing. I think some people's voices, like so the wonderful actor that voices both Bart Simpson and Lisa and so on in The
Yeah,
Simpsons, and you get these actors that have such a dexterity to their voice,
yeah,
and I think a lot of that is inherent. But also, I guess you have two kind of options, right? For yourself, it's like,
hmm,
do I hone that kind of natural grizzly kind of lower frequency tone and stuff that yourself has, DJ? Or do you then try
right,
and literally focus more so on dexterity and really
yeah,
try and hone that, kind of palette, I suppose? Because how can
yeah,
you really hone your voice that you have to such a degree that that becomes you and then work
yeah.
on other stuff at the same time? It seems like
Well,
an
it's
interesting path.
yeah. Like I remember watching not terribly long ago. I was watching a program that was I want to say it was an old Conan O'Brien show, and he had the guy on that plays Homer Simpson. And the guy speaks very normally, like if you're walking down the street, I mean, he doesn't sound any different from anything else until he goes into the Homer Simpson character, and you're like, oh my God, that's Homer Simpson. Or like
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane's another fantastic
Mm-hmm.
example of that. Like when you watch the roasts or things like that he hosts outside of that, or like his character in what was it, A Thousand Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a regular guy, and then all of a sudden he's Stewie, and I just like it's really cool that people can do that, man. I admire it. I just been one to do impersonations of people or anything like that. I just have a big, deep, stupid voice, and forever I was like, I swear to God, dude, like I used to be kind of embarrassed because it was like, like when you get Rick rolled, like the Rick Astley, never gonna give you up, and like he's got this big deep voice, except the guy looked like like a Howdy Doody puppet or something. Um, and like when you're young and you have a big voice like this, it's like people are like, that doesn't look like that's what should come from there. But I guess that's why the acting career didn't take off until I was in my 40s, and now this actually looks like what my voice actually
Yeah,
should look like. When I
yeah,
was
the beard
21,
helps.
when I was 21, it was pretty weird, dude.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Jesus Christ, this guy hit
Yeah,
puberty quick, right? But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, great. Thank you, Dan. Great answer.
you
So
bet.
you talked a little bit about like how we developed, well, how developing a character in an audio only acting sense is kind of interesting in itself. So we had a really good time developing the protagonist. There was a lot of back and forth, and obviously I was writing an
Yeah,
enigmatic character, which usually means that there's a few blank lines. But we had a great
yeah.
time developing the
For
character.
anyone listening to this, yeah, for anyone listening to this right now, Connor and I spent like so much time on the phone. He's like, no, 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 now, like less emotion. No, now less emotion. I'm like, no one ever says less emotion, Connor. That's not how acting works, okay, man?
I like noir. Okay, the main detective, they've got alcohol issues and emotional repression. Okay, but yeah, no, we had a great time
It
doing
was
that.
pretty fun.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the question was like, how did you like developing the protagonist specifically? Was there anything that stood out, or was it kind of just another sort of exercise for you? How did you find it?
I love the noir style. I mean, like that's it's something that's been. I mean, like like honestly, like when's the last time you heard a like noir detective radio program or a noir detective? Like the last one I can think of, and this is silly, but like the last thing I can think of that really like would fit that style is the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Go, and I was like, when that came out, and this time there was like this, you know, um, this enigmatic, quiet, soft-spoken kind of character, and I think that's what you and I have worked on really largely is that type of understated, um, subdued kind of protagonist, and I think it's cool just because it's something that's not commonly used anymore. Like if you think back to the days of like the radio programs, like back in the say like the 1940s, before TV became really popular, there were all of these different um, shows that people tuned into just to listen. Back before there was visual media, and I think about A Prairie Home Companion is a really popular show for years and years and years in the U.S. on NPR, and it's strictly audio. And now they go and perform it. They began performing it live in front of theater audiences, which is kind of cool because then you get the laugh and the applause and everything. But I think developing those characters strictly focused on audio work, it caught me by surprise when I found out what it, like when you and I very, very first started talking. I didn't foresee the idea of audio gaming. You know what I mean? And so to develop characters based on something that's only going to be heard, I put more time. Frankly, I put a lot more time into it than I normally would any other character.
Well, that's good to hear.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, like I'm not complaining about the pay or anything, Connor, but
why did I know this was
we
coming?
did.
I'm sorry. It seems like we're having some connection issues. We're gonna have to cut the interview there, unfortunately. No, I'm joking. I'm kidding.
I'm not complaining. I swear to God, I'm not complaining. I'm teasing you.
I know.
But no, I really did. I probably spent twice as much time on the project than and on the two projects that I have on anything else. Because if I know that there's going to be a visual element, people are typically visual by nature, right? I mean, sighted people are going to be visual by nature. That's their primary input. And so if I play another kind of character, I know there's a lot of visual stuff that's going to be going on, like war games and things like that. Obviously, like there's a lot of action going on, and so the audio becomes kind of secondary just to move the story along, right? Or to explain something. But in an auditory game, there's not going to be the visual element that is a crutch. So I better really make sure that I know, who the character is and what's going on. So that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those things, and obviously, we appreciate the effort that you put into it, because it was. I think a lot of the time, as you say, with a lot of visual games, there's kind of like, I don't want to say that the character feels more obvious, because that's kind of like a disservice and a discredit to a lot of the creative writers and people that write characters for games. But
it's okay. You can say it. You're right.
No, I mean, I think generally it feels like, let's say you're on Fiverr, right? You get a brief, this is the character, blah, 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 do this, do this. But as you were saying before, Dan, like there has to be a little bit more attention paid to something that, is audio only. You don't have those visual crutches, as you said, to lean on. You don't have those, like a character can walk into a room in a visual bit of media, right? And based on their body language, their hair, right, what they're wearing, the way they walk, blah blah blah, you can tell who that character is straight away. Now we try and put a lot of little tiny details as far as kind of like what kind of boots a person's wearing. Maybe they have a slightly different rate of footstep, and all of these tiny interesting things. But ultimately, it comes down to the nuances that brilliant actors like yourself have put into the game. So yeah, we really appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure.
I will take that compliment. I will take that compliment very thankfully and graciously, man. I appreciate that. It's cool. And when you and I mentioned earlier on the game, Color Zero, it was a fun one that I got to work on, but it was a sighted game, obviously. And I think when you and I very first started working together, that was the one that I sent you. I was like, okay, here's what it sounds like when I do a character like this. But that was a super cool game, all in black and white. But honestly, like when I watch the videos of that, the gaming experience, it is you'll hear my voice, but the visual is what creates what this character looks like, because I'm 6'2". I'm not sure what that is in meters, centimeters, but I'm a big guy. Like, yeah, I weigh, 235 pounds, and like, I'm a very large man. And the character is a very small, skinny, kind of character. And it really changes a lot with the visuals of what somebody looks like. And he's very dapperly dressed, and he always wears like this little fedora hat, like as a detective would, right?
Yeah.
And it really is. I mean, like you said, you don't want to take away from the creativity that people put into developing the visuals of a sighted game, but there's sure a whole different element in developing characters based on audio alone. So
yeah, for sure, man. I think it's pretty undeniable. And all the nuances, as I say, that go into an audio game, whether it's voice acting or sound design, they suddenly just become so much more important. And I think it was really interesting what you said about, yeah, so the protagonist is quite a subdued character.
FYI, you might have just broken up a little bit.
Okay, let's see. Can you hear me? Am I okay?
I think I've got you in real time now. Yeah.
All right, sweet. I'll tell you what.
I just had a little delay for a sec.
Okay, nice. Well, let's kind of like, I'm down for wrapping it up anyway. I think it's time for a beer. So what do you think about the? So we kind of covered this, but what do you think about audio games? Do you think they're important? What do you think about the petition as well that we're trying to get to get up?
I do. I think you know, you and I sort of talked about this before we, you know, hit the record button. But it caught me by surprise that it wasn't already available on like the, you know, the Apple store or Google Play. I made the assumption. I felt it was like I didn't even think about it. Like it was a foregone conclusion that obviously these things must be out there and available in the App Store. You know, otherwise, why would you be putting in all the time and effort and money to create them? And it never occurred to me that you're creating this, you know, ahead of time to say, hey, look, there's a market out here for something that's really important to a lot of people that don't play sighted games. And it kind of hurt my heart and pissed me off that it wasn't already there, you know. Yeah. It did. I'm just, you know, I'm an emotional guy. It's all right. And I was like, how can they not already have a category, you know, for people that are vision impaired? Like what, that just, it really startled me that wasn't already a thing. And so for starters, kudos to you guys for like working on projects like this, knowing that it's not, you know, not available in mass like a lot of the other, you know, gaming experiences are. But secondly, yeah, I mean, like to petition them to say, hey, this needs to be a category. This needs to be something that's available to the broader public. That's why we're sitting here talking. When you're like, hey, you know, let's do this interview. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, sign me up, because this absolutely needs to be something that's available out there on the wide market.
Mate, thank you so much. Perfect answer as always. DJ, that's kind of everything we've got. Brilliant stuff, man. Great conversation. Thank you very much. Buddy. And I'll let you go. I'm gonna chill and try and do some video editing at 9:30. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, DJ, a pleasure as always, man. I can't thank you. I can't thank you enough. So I will be in touch soon, and I'll be using you for free again in the future.
My pleasure, man.
All right,
call me from your. Exactly. Call me from your bed again next time. All right.
Yeah, I will do. Maybe I'll have a big beard next time, mate. Use it as my diva. All right. All right. See you, DJ. Thanks, man. See you soon, dude. Bye-bye. Bye.